Good morning, colleagues. A warm welcome to everybody that has managed to join in on time. My name is Langi Malamba. I'm the Registrar for the South African Council for Social Service Professions. I would like to warmly welcome everybody and appreciate the time you have taken to join us on this beautiful day to discuss very critical issues which are impacting the sector of child and youth care work. And I'm glad that the presenters are also here. And with that, I don't want to delay the session further. We're going to start right on time and start with apologies for absence, if there are any, Ma'am Lebogeng Mwila. And then we will do the introductions. But before we do that, just a few housekeeping. Whilst I would appreciate people revealing their cameras, but I would want that really to avoid interruption with the network. We only allow the people that are speaking to have their camera on. And when you want to raise a question, please just raise your hand so that we can notice you. And at the time where we're inviting questions and answers, that please raise your hand and raise the question. Sometimes people type in the chat bar and we're not able to keep track of what questions have been asked. But if anyone prefers to type their comments in the chat bar, I will ask the staff members who are joined in from the Secretariat to please just help me track questions that are raised so that we can reflect them back, even for the benefit of those who are going to be linked in through YouTube. And then we can have a dialogue thereafter. Thank you so much. I'm going to allow the board secretary to just indicate if there are any apologies. And then we will go to the next item and introduce ourselves to everyone and continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. We have received the following apologies. The President of Council, the Chairperson of Professional Board for Social Work, National DSD, Department of Higher Education and Training, Department of Basic Education, and University of Western Cape. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Memwilwa. I'm going to now move on to 1.3, where we're doing the introductions. And like I said, when you introduce yourself, just briefly reveal your video and you can close it off. So for the benefit of those who have just joined, my name is Langi Malamba. I'm the registrar for the South African Council for Social Service Professions. I'm going to be chairing the session this morning. Thank you. I would ask that our board members present, please introduce yourselves. If there are any members of council as well, please introduce yourselves, and then we hand over to external guests that are in the plenary. Thank you. Please unmute yourself, Ntate Ngonyama.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Chairperson and Registrar. And good morning to all the attendees to this meeting. My name is Donald Ngonyama. I am the Chairperson of the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Madam Registrar. Good morning, colleagues. I'm Lesiba Mulepo, and I serve on the board as the chairperson of Education, Training and Development of the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lesiba. Ms. Baron, I see your hand is up. Ms. Baron? Ms. Baron, maybe you can lower your hand and close the mic. Can we go on to the next member, Advocate Peter? Am I the only one who can hear them? It seems there's a problem.
You are not the only one.
Hello,
Okay.
Chair.
Hi, Advocate. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Members of the board, please introduce yourselves so that we can acknowledge members of council present and then move on to our delegates. And maybe people can just type in the chat bar so long where they're coming from so that we don't spend a lot of time on introductions, because I see there's quite a huge number. So maybe external delegates, please just write your name, the organization you're representing in the chat bar, then we can capture it in the minutes as such. And at the point where you're raising your hand, you can just say where you are, your name and where you are from. But for now, I think just to not spend a lot of time on intros, can I just allow the board and council members to introduce themselves? Is that acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Dr.
all.
Alsop? Yes.
Hi, I'm Charlene Singh. I'm a lecturer at Durban University of Technology. I serve on the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care, and I'm also on the ETD committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singh.
Good morning. My name is Gushen Tintili. I serve on the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care and also serve on the ETD committee as well. Thank you.
Members, is it possible to reveal yourself? Remember, the delegates and members of the sector do not remember your faces or do not know you. So it will be ideal if you can just reveal yourself for purposes of introduction. Ms. Charlene Gutle, and every other member that is going to introduce themselves, please just do so. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Samantha Barron. I am the Deputy Chairperson for the PBCYC board. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Gutle.
Hi, I'm Charlene Singh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, I am Kushentinti. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Tintili. Go ahead, Mr. Lucky.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. My name is Lucky Jacobs. I'm also serving on a professional board for Child and Youth Care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Nzama.
Morning, colleagues. My name is Simphiwe Nzama. I also serve in the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care and the Transformation Committee and CPI. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Advocate Peter Beck? Okay. Have I covered?
Left register, but I seem to be having a problem with my camera.
Okay.
It's Advocate Peter here. I'm a member of the preview.
Oh, excellent. We can see you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, I'm the member of the board, as I said, and I also serve on a number of subcommittees of this board and also the subcommittees of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate. Are there any other members of the board that have not given time to speak? Okay, it seems we have. And Mr. Harris?
Good morning, members, and good morning to the sector. My name is Alfred Harris. I'm a member of council, and I serve and I represent council on the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care work. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. I've noted also the presence of Dr. Alsop. And the chairperson, the deputy chairperson from the board social work, Ms. Murake, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. Good morning, delegates. My name is Winnie Morage. I'm the Deputy Chair for the Professional Board for Social Workers. I also serve on several task teams and committees as well. Thank you. Apologies, Registrar. I'm on load shedding. I cannot unmute my camera. I'm using a gadget that is not compatible. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Gallant, I want to just acknowledge Mr. Gallant's presence. He used to be a member of council and also the chairperson of the Association for Child and Youth Care Work. Welcome, Dr. Gallant. Dr. Alsop, you can go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to everybody, including all members of the professional board and council here. I look forward to this meeting, and good morning to all from the sector who've joined us. I am a member of council and I represent child and youth care work on council. I know that I was voted into council on that ticket. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alsop. I want to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy President, Mr. Muridili. If you can just unmute and reveal your video, sir, so that the sector can know you.
Oh, thanks, Register. I'm not sure if I'm visible, but on my side, I see that I am not on. But my name is Murendeni Muridiri. I am the Deputy President of the South African Council for Social Service Profession. I am so delighted to be meeting with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I want to acknowledge the presence of colleagues from academia, and on this note, to also acknowledge our presenters from Health and Welfare SETA, as well as the University of the Durban University of Technology. And on that score, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to allow the chairperson, Ndate Donald Ngonyama, to take us through the purpose of the session. Over to you, Chair. Oh, before you do that, I see there's a persistent hand of Cindy Velelo. Mr. or Miss Cindy, can you please indicate what is the issue you want to table? Cindy Velelo. Okay, I'm taking it. It's an accidental hand. Chair, you can take to the stage and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar, and the Program Director for this meeting today. Thanks for the opportunity to share the purpose of today. Allow me to start by recognizing the presence of the Vice President of Council, Mr. Moridili, and Deputy Chairperson of the Professional Board of Social Work, Ms. Morake, and in our presence, Ms. Luyanda Nokwe from HWSETA. I am not sure if the CEO of HWSETA is with us in this meeting. If she is not in absentia, I would like to recognize her and the role that she played to get us here. And I also would like to recognize Dr. Moeti Hare, who indicated that he will make sure that he doesn't miss this opportunity. And I'm sure that he would have joined. If not, he's going to be joining us very soon. Prof. Diwan from DUT, I would like to also appreciate your presence and the role played by the university. The Deputy Chairperson of the Professional Board of Child and Youth Care, I would like to acknowledge you and all the members of the Professional Board who are present today. And I also would like to recognize all members of Council who have joined, and the members of the Professional Board for Social Work who are present to support the Deputy Chairperson of the Professional Board of Social Work. The employers who have joined this meeting, it's quite a critical meeting that we are having, and it's also historic. I would like to recognize your presence and appreciate that you made the time to be with us, as well as all the child and youth care workers, fellow child and youth care workers who are present at this meeting. Thank you very much for making the time to join. I would like to indicate that the 4th Professional Board started its work in August, and we have been in the board for about 3 months now. The Professional Board takes over from the 3rd board, which its term ended in June this year. As the 4th board, we are thankful of the work done by the 3rd board, which was handed to this board. Many of you have attended the 2 summits held and led by the past Professional Board, which has raised some critical issues and challenges faced by the child and youth care sector. We are well aware that those challenges still remains, and the different stakeholders who were invited to the summit, including the Minister of Social Development and all others, made commitments to move various sections of the work of the child and youth care development forward. Around February next year, an invite will be issued from the board through the Office of the Registrar and Council to invite you to attend the 3rd summit of the child and youth care sector. The various stakeholders who made commitment will be available to report back to the sector regarding their progress. And for those stakeholders who are with us here, I just want to urge you that we all work hard during this time so that when we come to the third summit, we have got something tangible and responding to the sector that we are going to be reporting. Today, we are presenting to you one of the initiatives that arise from the summit led by the past board. You have all been invited to receive an announcement regarding the opportunities to improve access to education in the child and youth care sector. The process of this initiative was started by the previous board and continued by this board, a stage where an announcement will be made today. As a board for child and youth care, we are well aware that there are many challenges that are faced by this sector, and the frustration in the field continues building up daily. We hope that with this announcement, the sector will realize and appreciate work done, even if there are some small steps that are made to addressing the big problems that continue to be raised. We hope that it should be appreciated. I would like to thank the HWCTA, the DUT, and Council under the leadership of the Registrar for the work achieved to date. I know that there was a lot of work that was done in the foundation phase, led by the past chairperson of the professional board, Dr. Tambado. We would like to thank you and Dr. Molepo for all the work that you did on behalf of the past board to get us to where we are today. The registrar and the chairperson of this meeting allow me to specifically thank the HWCTA CEO, Ms. Elaine Brass, for the willingness to partner in this initiative to support the child and youth care sector and to support the academic growth and development of people who have shown and proven to be committed to addressing the needs of children at risk in our country. We thank you for believing in something that has never been tried before in this sector, an initiative that we who are behind it believes it is one of the answers in solving the skills development problem in the sector and in our country. To DUT Dr. Mweti Kware and Professor Diwal, DUT is one of the universities in this country which has continued to show interest in the development of the child and youth care work profession. We are well aware that we are negotiating with other universities to come on board, but you are leading the path and you are now leading the groundbreaking initiative. We are grateful for your foresight, your acknowledgement that the vulnerable and at-risk children need skilled people to deal with the problems that they face. You have accepted a challenge and to be part of a groundbreaking initiative that has never been witnessed before in this sector. To everyone who has joined, I know we have UNICEF, and thank you very much to UNICEF. We know that you have always been behind the development of the child and youth care profession. And we call upon you once again to stay with us and move with us as we grow and develop. To the Department of Basic Education, whom I understand that maybe they will join us, we would like to appreciate the support in ensuring that the child and youth care workers are recognized by the role that they are playing in schools, and as well as DSD and others. We appeal for financial support as we will need to begin with the process immediately while we wait for the HWCTA to finalize the transfer of funds, as that can only be done once we have done the selection of the first group to go through the portfolio development course, which you are going to be hearing more of it. And we hope that funds will not stand on the way to get us starting with this process. But as I indicated, it's a groundbreaking initiative, and we would like to see this starting at least in this part of the year. I'm going to leave the HWCTA and the DUT to make the groundbreaking announcement and to enjoy the moment. Madam Registrar and Chairperson of this meeting, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, for the informative background info that you have given to why we're having this session this morning. And I really am also excited about the developments that we see, which will benefit our child and youth care sector. And I want to steal this moment to just acknowledge the presence of my colleagues in the office, starting with the communications team, the registration team, the secretarial support team, and also the interns who are in the office supporting the respective strategic units, the IT team as well. Welcome. And I want to especially acknowledge the presence of Mr. Masindi, who is one of the stakeholders who are actively advocating for change and improvement in conditions for our child and unemployed child and youth care workers, and any other advocacy or lobby groups that are joined with us today. You are most welcome. I want to now take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest from Health and Welfare Sector, but I also just noticed that Ms. Bolton from SACSSP has joined us. Welcome, Ms. Bolton, and any other stakeholder that I might have missed. You are most welcome. Ms. Luyanda Lokwe is a projects manager at the Health and Welfare Sector, very instrumental in supporting the initiatives that Council has been championing over the years. And we enjoy the support and advocacy from her part to make sure that, whatever it is that is in the best interest of the sector, the social service sector, is taken care of. We are very glad that on this morning, she is able to join us. Melokwe, I'm going to allow you the space to do your presentation and highlight all the opportunities that exist for our practitioners on the ground, as well as our institutions of higher learning. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Registrar, and good morning to everyone present in the discussions of today. Before I dive into the presentation of the day, I would like to pass the sincere apologies of the HWSETA CEO, Ms. Elaine Brass, who wanted to be in this meeting today. However, there are urgent board meetings that were set up, which then resulted in her not being able to join today. And hopefully the presentation that I will provide today will close the gap that she's not here and open up opportunities for many organizations that work within the space. Just to highlight the contents of my presentation today, what I've put together is a more comprehensive presentation in terms of highlighting how the sector can access funding from the HWSETA in general. And this is outside of organized directives or organized opportunities that are discussed at higher level. It's just to show that all the organizations that work within the space, they individually can be able to access funding from the HWSETA following the processes that I will be highlighting today, over and above the initiatives that are discussed at higher level, which have resulted in the good news that we will be sharing today as well on the funding that has been successfully allocated towards the child and youth care work profession by the HWSETA. Liz, you can move to the next slide. Okay, I think Thank you. So this is just an overview of the functions of the HWSETA in general, one of which I want us to focus on is on skills development, which is a national priority in South Africa, meeting countries' skills. And this cuts across all skills that are related to the sector, in addition to the health-related skills that are mostly prominent. So CYC is also a priority within the HWSETA, and within the strategies that the HWSETA puts together on an annual basis, organizations that work within the space have opportunities to gain access to the funding that is made available. Next slide. Again, this is just a slide which provides everybody with the primary objectives of why the HWSETA exists, just to provide a holistic view in terms of how each organization can plug itself in terms of what the HWSETA's mandate is, one of which is to manage the SDL, which culminates into the discretionary grants, that we then utilize for funding skills opportunities within the sector. We also are responsible for developing the SSP, which is a skills sector plan, and this is directly derived from the submissions of workplace skills plan by organizations in the sector. And this guides the HWSETA in terms of the skills that take priority in each financial year, or where most funding should be channeled to in that financial year, as far as the HWSETA's discretionary grant funding strategies go. It is therefore important that we galvanize the sector to make sure that as many of our organizations that work within the child and youth care space, they are participating in this process fully, because we need to, beyond just talking about the need of child and youth care within the sector, also make sure that it is well documented and it is incorporated in the main strategic development documents of the HWSETA, which then makes it easier in the future when we want to implement projects that are related to the skill, as there will be a document which is research that we can refer to. So there's also, the HWSETA is also responsible for ETQA functions, which is the accreditation of skills development, training providers, assessors, and moderators. Next slide, please. So in terms of participation with the HWSETA, with any process, there is a registration process, and this is this process is directly to organizations like NPOs, NGOs, the government sector that is within the health and social development sector. They need to ensure that they follow the registration process, which is through the levy number process as well as the T number process. However, the HWSETA also makes provision for organizations that are not necessarily registered with the HWSETA, such as the universities, strategic partners like the council, where we do provide avenues for them to apply for funding related to skills that are of the similar nature to the business that they are busy with. So in terms of accessing funding from the HWSETA, registration and recognition is very important. The second level will then be compliance with the requirements of accessing the grants from the HWSETA, and as well as then we move to the stage of participation. Within the participation stage, this is where applications then are made, and they are made in two ways. The HWSETA on an annual basis advertises opportunities to the sector through what we call an expression of interest, and all organizations who are interested have an opportunity to make applications for the skills that they would directly want to be involved in as far as skills development is concerned. And all the EOI must meet the criteria which is outlined in the expression of interest at the time of advertisement. Next slide, please. So in terms of this discretionary grant funding process, the process is guided by a number of of processes. So it's guided by the HWC sector skills plan, as I mentioned. The discretionary grants that we fund are aligned by the HWCTA's annual performance plan. Funding is approved by the HWCTA board. Employers must submit the WSP and ATR each financial year. Applications are done through the expressions of interest. We also have an ad hoc funding mechanism, which is outside of the expression of interest process, and this is for more strategic projects that are not catered for in the expressions of interest that are advertised by the HWCTA. The HWCTA advertises on an annual basis to all stakeholders, and therefore the opportunity is open to everyone in the sector to apply. And allocations, therefore, are influenced by a number of factors, including the number of employers that qualify for the grant within that funding window. And this is talking to the fact that at times, as the HWCTA, we understand that the need is greater. However, we may not be able to fund requests fully because there are other employers also in the sector or other skills that we also need to take cognizance of. Next slide, please. So these expressions of interest, as I said, they are communicated on an annual basis. Now, the next two slides, it's just a highlight of the different types of programs that the HWCTA has opportunities for funding in. And in each of these lies opportunities for specifically the child and youth care skill. Within our postgraduate bursaries, we also cater for masters and PhDs. We've got learnerships, which go all the way up to NQF level 5. Work integrated learning opportunities. We fund learners at TVET colleges, provided that the qualifications that we are earmarking are available within the TVET space. We do offer bursaries for employed persons within organizations that are registered with HWCTA. So therefore, organizations that are within the space of CYC, the opportunity of them registering with the HWCTA, submitting the workplace skills plan, gives them access to these opportunities where they can apply for further studies of the employees within the organization. The adult education and training opportunities where it's skills focused. We also do lecturer development, because we also understand that within the space of learning, we also need to empower and educate those who have the responsibility of transferring the skill. Next slide. And then the last two opportunities are within the skills program space, as well as undergraduate bursaries that are available to the sector. So before we go to the next part of the presentation, which is more informative, and I've included the next slides for information purposes to everyone at large, so that you get a deeper understanding in terms of how the HWCTA allocates funds. And when we're looking into the future, evaluate how we can plug in and start strategizing towards making a bigger impact within the child and youth care space, utilizing the HWCTA's planning documents. So what I've provided is a highlight of what the 2022-2023 APP of the HWCTA contains, which takes priority, which means these are the types of programs that the HWCTA within the 2022-2023 space has prioritized. And once you get a view of the HWCTA APP, we are able to plan better, because then we aim to access funding in line with what the HWCTA has planned, achieving the goals to empower and access funding for specifically child and youth care work. So the remainder of the slides that I have provided are primarily a highlight of what the HWSETA APP for the 2022-2023 period include, which is the period that we are in. And I will share with the Council for distribution to everybody once we have finalized the APP for the 2023 to 2024 financial year. And then we can start moving along and planning for the future in terms of which areas are possible to be targeted in terms of skills and development within the child and youth care work. And in these opportunities, we need to also have an open mind and not only think in the space of formal degrees or formal education. As I've shown, the different types of programs that we are funding allow opportunities to also target programs that will provide assistance or will provide knowledge and understanding in a short space of time to those who are already in the child and youth care space, which is further educating the workforce that is within the space, whilst we are also increasing the number of the workforce that will come in at a later stage through the bursaries that we've made possible. Liz, if I can project from this point in time, it's just to take everybody through the announcement of what the HWSETA has allocated so far, which was the direct initiative of the discussions that were held with DUT as well as the HWSETA. So members in total at this point in time, the HWSETA through the initiative has made close to 6 million allocation in partnership with DUT. I believe Dr. Moeti will provide a much more detailed explanation in terms of moving out of the program. However, on the HWSETA side, we've made a pledge of 6 million towards bursaries for an access program, which is a 6 months program with the candidates moving on to the 12-month program. This is in collaboration with DUT. These are funds that have been approved by the HWSETA. And the next step that will unfold from this point going forward is that of implementation, getting learners on board and then transferring the money over to the DUT to manage. This is one of the initiatives that the skill is able to access, or we have an opportunity to contribute to as the HWSETA. However, I am also very excited that in future or in the next coming financial years, we do have an opportunity to do more. And with partners coming on board and making this a reality, the HWSETA is in full support. And as the CEO had previously pledged, this is her contribution in terms of the skill in the 2022-2023 financial year. And we are proud to be working together with DUT, and we are looking forward to many other institutions also coming on board in future so that we can be able to cover as many provinces as we can beyond the urban areas, accessing the more rural areas as well. And that can only be done through partnerships that are formed and through organizations or even institutions getting accredited and implementing the program as well, so that we can stretch as much as we can. So in terms of the 2022-2023 financial year, the HWSETA has pledged the 5.964 million towards the implementation of the program together with the Durban University of Technology. Thank you. I think Dr. Moeti will be able to provide a much more exciting overview on this partnership because this is also his proud baby, and he's very passionate about it. And the HWSETA was only glad to be able to come on board and provide the necessary funding to get the project off the ground. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is in essence the presentation from the HWSETA. If organizations are at all interested to find out more in detail, and I'm talking about also stretching to the non-government organizations as well that we have on the ground, so that we can expand and we can get as many organizations actively participating in HWSETA programs. They are welcome to contact me, and I will provide my email address, and we can facilitate the process of getting them registered, and we will have the provincial office in each province assisting them every step of the way, so that they can be able to access the funding opportunities that I presented today. Thank you so much.
May we give Mrs. Luyanda a big round of applause. The information that she has shared is indeed a great opportunity for our child and youth care sector, but largely all our social service practitioners can tap into those avenues. So employers who are seated here, you have heard, practitioners who are seated or those who are following us through YouTube, there are opportunities to upgrade yourself and develop yourself further. And the beauty is that there are bursaries, there's also accommodation that is taken into account, because we know that some of the universities are not yet offering long distance learning. So we thank the Health and Welfare SETA for that consideration. Mr. Tulani, I'm going to ask that you close your video, please. And at this stage, I would ask for people to note questions that they might have for Mrs. Luyanda, but I'm going to proceed with the program. We are now going to invite Dr. Fatima Diwan from the Durban University of Technology, who is standing in for Dr. Khware, to come and present and give us the exciting news about what is on offer, which is going to be a huge benefit for our child and youth care work sector. I'm going to remove some of the people who are misbehaving. I've said at the beginning that we must not interfere with the proceedings. So there are people who continue to have their mics and their videos on. I'm just going to simply remove them from the meeting if I can mute them. Over to you, Doc.
Register, Fatima is muted.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Diwan, thank you, Deputy President.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me start again. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure this morning to do this presentation for you on behalf of our head of department, Dr. Moeti Khware. Dr. Khware was supposed to be here this morning, but he just messaged me now. He's actually in the Northwest Province and he's traveling between meetings, and he thought he would be able to make it, but he said that he's still quite far from where he's supposed to be. So he does tender his apologies for not being able to do this himself. Before I go on with the presentation, I would like to say that this would not have been possible without the input and support from the HWSETA, from the Professional Board of Child and Youth Care, and from Council. And I think we, as the Child and Youth Care program here at DUT, really are very happy that we have this opportunity to further improve the field of child and youth care. And Dr. Khware became our head of department in September last year. and we had meetings towards, I think it was the end of last year with board. And in the space of this year, he was able to really drive this process and bring it to the point where we are now able to share this very good news with the sector. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm Fatima, and that's the details of our head of department, Dr. Hware. Next slide, please. Okay. So basically, what I'm going to do this morning is just to provide some information about the background to the portfolio development course and the Bachelor of Child and Youth Care. And then the last few slides, we will look at the progress to date with these initiatives. So the board, together with the Child and Youth Care program at the Durban University of Technology, agreed on a project of professionalization of the child and youth care profession by increasing the intake of students that can complete the Bachelor of Child and Youth Care, and thereby increasing the number of supervisors in the field. The HUD at DUT, Dr. Hware, wrote a proposal on behalf of the team, and basically to the value of approximately 2.7 million per year for 4 years for a total of 60 students. And as stated by Ms. Lokwe, this amount has been approved by the HW CETA. Next slide, please. So due to DUT only having 5 child and youth care work lecturers, and basically with the 5 lecturers, we look at the 4-year degree. We have a master's program that we started this year, and next year we will be offering a postgraduate diploma in child and youth care as well. So the agreement was that this project would be self-sufficient because with the current lecturers, it's impossible to do something over and above what we're already doing. So the money that the HW CETA would be giving, and Dr. Hware calls this a pilot project. It's a special project, and I'll explain to you why just now. So DUT would use the money from HW CETA to appoint 3 lecturers on a 4-year fixed-term contract, and all of that being inclusive in the amount outlined in the previous slide of 2.7 million per year. Next slide, please. So the understanding was that the current child and youth care work auxiliary workers who are at NQF level 4 and 5 would receive preference, and that this opportunity would not be open to any other students. So it's specifically targeted to CYC auxiliary workers. So even those that come out straight out of matric or whatever are not eligible, because those candidates need to apply for our current 4-year degree program through the current application processes that we have at DUT. And so due to the flexibility allowed during COVID-19, the attendance for this Bachelor of Child and Youth Care, we're thinking it's going to be in a hybrid form. That means that lessons will be online, but students will be expected to attend lectures on a quarterly basis. So it would be what we call block release lectures for maybe a week, 2 weeks at a time, split over the year. So that's what we mean by hybrid. Next slide, please. The degree project will be administered as an academic program by DUT in the same way that the current CYC degree is being administered. So basically, it will be what we're offering right now, but as a parallel degree. And DUT will appoint the relevant staff through its HR processes for the tuition and the administration of the four-year bachelor degree. And as I stated before, the project will require an appointment of 3 fixed-term contract lecturers to lecture and to serve as mentors. Next slide, please. So that 4-year bachelor degree program, which is a special project that we're going to be administering. So before that even happens, there is this professional development course. So as part of the efforts to increase the number of professionals in child and youth care, it was suggested that a 6-month portfolio development course be developed to prepare students and also help improve the quality of students who wish to access the degree, because the bachelor's degree is at level 8. And usually the processes would be an RPL process, but maybe people know in the room, but the RPL process can be quite a long, cumbersome process. So it was decided that this would be something that candidates could use to ready themselves for the 4-year bachelor's degree. So it's a 6-month portfolio development clause, and discussions were held with Mr. Ralphs, and who has a lot of knowledge around portfolio development courses, and he is going to be in charge of this at DUT. So it's going to be developed by Mr. Ralphs, and it's going to be registered as a short course at DUT. So because it's only going to be for 6 months next year. And then those candidates who successfully complete that 6 months will then be eligible to register for this hybrid 4-year degree that I spoke to you about. And as I said, being in this portfolio development course will give them insight and preparedness for what to expect in the 4-year degree course. Next slide, please. So for the professional development course, an amount of 16,000 per learner for 60 students has been awarded by HWCETA. And this amount of money will allow DUT to contract Mr. Ralphs and to appoint course presenters for the professional development course. And the professional development course was due to start in January 2023. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Right, so now we go on to progress to date. So point 1, the start of the project. Dr. Huare faced a huge challenge in the allocation of funds within the university because the funds were reflected as a bursary on the initial letter that was received by the HWCETA. And this created a huge delay in the implementation of the project, because if that was the case, then all of the money would go towards the bursaries and none of it would go towards the administrative budget, which is needed to start up and run the PDC course. Next slide, please. Point 2. So for the Bachelor of Child and Youth Care, the initial thought had been a hybrid attendance. But since the lifting of lockdown restrictions, universities are back to physical attendance. So as I said, it will be online, but students will need to attend these block release lectures. So this hybrid approach, it requires a lot of support from the board and from the employers of those who will be selected as students. And so those who are eligible for these bursaries, they should be full-time, employed, auxiliary, child and youth care workers. And therefore, as a university, we will require that the workplace commit to allowing study time and attendance of block release classes. The only way the university will continue to give permission for this project is if we assure the university the success rates as required by the Department of Higher Education and Training. Next slide, please. Point number 3, Due to the delay highlighted in progress point 1, it is late in the year for the intake for the degree for 2023, and this is due to the recruitment and contracting of students. The task team met in November and has discussed the selection process. Also, the funds to start the project. The funds are approved as stated by the HWSETA, but in order for the funds to be released, there needs to be student agreement forms which need to be submitted. So the request to HWSETA is to allow deferment of the start of the degree to 2024 so that we can get the names of the students before the end of this financial year and enable DUT to finalize MOUs with the HWSETA. Next point, please. So the professional development course is already in draft and should be ready to start in July 2023. Selection criteria for students were drafted in November 2022, and the application timelines are as follows. There will be the date for a call out on the 17th of November. The closing date for applications will be the 2nd of December, and the successful candidates will be notified on the 15th of December. Next slide, please. I think that's the end. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the presentation on behalf of the Durban University of Technology. Thank you so much.
A round of applause for Dr. Diwan, please. Thank you so much. And I'm also very happy that we are well on time. I'm going to, at this stage, allow that we have some reflections and ask questions if there are any for clarity for Ms. Luyanda Lokwe and Dr. Diwan. If there are any questions or comments that members want to pose. I notice the hand of Mr. Harris, Vice President Mr. Moridili, Ms. Dumiso Koyana or Mr. Koyana, Sir Prince Ngwenyani. Okay, I'm going to ask that in that order you pose your questions, and please be direct. Let's not have 5-6 questions in one sentence. Just be direct to the two presenters, and then we take the responses. So I'm allowing only the first 5 up to Apostle to raise your questions, starting with Mr. Harris.
Good morning, Registrar and members. I'm sure that this is very exciting news for the field to see this development. I must ever say it is disappointing to note that the Department of Social Development is not part of this meeting, as they are the biggest employers of child and care workers. And what we do find in the sector is that child and care workers with qualification are still being employed at the auxiliary level, because the career pathing for child workers are not fully developed within government. So it's very sad for me to see that the Department of Social Development is not part of this meeting. It's something that as a sector and as a council we need to take up with them so that this can be rectified as soon as possible. But from my side, thank you for all the role players. Thank you to DUT and to CETA for the contribution in making this happen for the field. Thank you very much.
Mr. Moridili, thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay, no, thank you so much, Registrar. Actually, Mr. Harris also cover part of what I then wanted to raise, which obviously I will then concur with him to say the presentations that we have then received, it's an interesting one, and obviously we do welcome the development with regard to the professionalization of the child and youth care work sector. However, I do have quick questions both to Luyanda and Fatima. So for Luyanda, I wanted to then check with her what are the available programs within CETA where they then interact with obviously general members of the public who are in the field of child and youth care sector to actually make this kind of presentation or to make them aware about all the opportunities within the sector, in that we do have different provinces, others are in deep rural areas. Then I wanted to check if they do have the programs to reach out to obviously even the destitute group. And going to Fatima, with regard to the introduction of the course in child and youth care sector, I am so excited in that obviously we'll be kickstarting with this program. But quickly, so I wanted to check because I want to believe that obviously those who have been a part of this engagement from the inception level will then be clued up with regard to what is included or not. But then on our side, I would then like to request, obviously, if registrar, you do have the detailed report with regard to the course itself, so that we can also look at the implications or where we should then come in as the council. If obviously you may make a reference with regard to the social work which are required to actually register with council. I know that with regard to that, the student social workers are expected to register even when they're still at the institution of higher learning, and I know that such is well documented within the Social Service Profession Act. So obviously, by that report, we'll then be able to look and see if obviously, I want to believe that if this course is 4 years, there might be a contact phase, or there might be a certain period where the student are expected to interact with communities or do practical and so forth. So that will then assist us to actually look at what we should then prepare ahead if then at a certain level student will be required to then register with us. We will then be aware and also prepare ourselves if then there will in future be a need for us to actually making sure that all is documented or is amended within the legislation. So it's something that will then obviously have a future idea on how we are then going to deal with that. So what I would then wanted to check is that if we can then get that comprehensive report, so that we'll see from level 1 to the last level, how is it going to go about. But I want to believe that maybe internal register, you might have that detailed report where we'll then also familiarize ourselves, so that if there is a need for us to further provide inputs, then we'll then do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice President. Mr. Koyana or Ms. Koyana.
Good morning, everyone. It's Mr. Koyana, and Numiso is the name. And Numiso is the name. To be short, thank you for very insightful two presentations, and we hope that it will not only be on paper but also implementations. And coming to Ms. Mamuliana, just wanted to know that in terms of who ensures that these opportunities are met by people at various workplaces. How do we access the opportunity? Do they go individually, or it's through where they are working? And if it's work areas or workspaces, whose role is it? Okay, because these are opportunities, okay, out there for child and youth care workers, okay. And what I also like, there are time frames, and also it is direct, the target and all that stuff. The question goes around who ensures that the other people are able to get these opportunities. And also going to DUT presentation, there's a part where you speak of attending, okay, and also there who ensures, because at times will be required to attend the block sessions. Now, whose role is that, ensuring that care workers, social child and youth care workers do attend those things? Do they go for themselves? Who provide transport and stuff like that? Whose role is it? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ngwenyani.
Good day, everyone. My question, I think it's almost similar to the previous speaker. However, I wanted to ask about me specifically as a person who's a child and youth worker for more than 20 years now, but nothing formal, even in terms of employment, because I heard that applicants would have to be formally employed. But what if you are currently working as a child and youth care worker informally in schools and in churches and in NGOs, and it's what you do on a daily basis, and you are on the journey of trying to get formalized, and you are seeing this thing as an opportunity for you to get the proper accreditations. Am I then disqualified from applying, and what is the application process? Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Ngwenyani. Apostle Hobbs.
Thank you very much, Registrar, for this opportunity. My question this time is with regard to the presentation made by Health and Welfare SETA, Ms. Lokwe, with regard to the contact details, because we are the faith-based organizations, and I believe that we fall under, we form part and parcel of the non-governmental organizations, which actually has got the youth and the children that needs to be cared for. There are a lot of our child and youth care workers. Some are not even employed. They have gone for training and all that. A lot of them are not employed. And also some of them are struggling actually to be registered after having acquired the course qualifications. So what I'm saying is that we need to know that as faith-based organization, how do we access those funding opportunities that you have alluded to? And also, I would really appreciate it if we could actually get your contact details so that we are in a position to be able to maybe have a meeting, even if it's a physical meeting with you, so that you can clarify to us all those opportunities, because a lot of our young women, and especially at this time where we're dealing with gender-based violence and femicide, our youth is actually loitering the streets of our townships, and some are having qualifications, but they are in a position to be placed. You know, I still go back to the query whereby it is said that it is so unfortunate that our Department of Social Development is not in this session, because they are the ones that places those that have qualified. But you know, there are barriers to that as well. So we need that to be clarified. How do these qualified ones access employment opportunities for them to be economically active, and not just economically active, at the same time to reach out fully to those that are in need of the services? Number two, I've got a question to Dr. Fatima of the Durban University Technology. You spoke about professional development, something. I didn't catch that. Yeah, and those time frames that you had actually put on the screen, what is it for people to apply the auxiliary CYCs? Can they apply even right now for them to enter this the services that you are affording them, the courses, because they need a further development in this. So if you can just give us that, would really appreciate that. And also furthermore, lastly, which is, I think it is important for us to, whatever that we do, we do that from an informed position. If we could get the presentations in our email so that we are in a position to, refer to that as we impart knowledge to those that are in need of. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Apostle. Okay, I note Mr. Ngonyama's hand after the 5 people that I've first noted. And just for summary, Mr. Harris gave a comment, so I'm not going to dwell on that. Mr. Mrendeni was checking whether there are available programs. That I think he's talking about outreach opportunities for SETA to, engage with members of the public or even the SSPs in terms of what are the available opportunities. And the issue of the detailed report, the board social work is integral to this new offering at DUT. So yes, all the issues that you've raised as concerns are taken care of. Mr. Koyana, you've asked about implementation. It mustn't just be talk, it must be implemented. And you raising questions around how people can access those opportunities. If it's in the workplace, how do ordinary people who are out there not yet employed access this? And whose responsibility is it to ensure inclusivity so that nobody is left out? And to DUT, you asked about ensuring attendance and providing support, who's going to provide for transport, maybe gadgets and so on for learning on the hybrid model. And Mr. Ngwenyani, you've spoken about having 20 years of work experience in different settings like churches and so on, and you're saying you are not yet accredited. Am I being disqualified? So we all know that child and youth care work is a regulated sector, and anybody practicing as a child and youth care worker has to be registered. So maybe Mr. Ngwenyana can, find help on how to apply if he is indeed employed elsewhere and he's practicing or identifying himself as a child and youth care worker. You need to be registered. So I will leave that to the members of the panels to respond, but also the members of the board present are welcome to add their responses to some of the questions that have been posed. In the heart of the machine, Apostle Hobbs mentioned the issue of high unemployment. Hold over 1,000 bills each. Her wish for more engagement with health and welfare rubber roller. And kicks up also the issue of accessing funding to make sure that qualified unemployed to a pair of smooth can access employment. So those some of the questions are more commentary, but a sensor there are checks that bills never double up. Everybody to reflect on. So this robotic teller I give Tate Ngwenyama the chance to speak. I will allow up to 5 bills every second. And Dr. Fatima to give their reflections on the 2 questions raised, the number of questions raised. Over to you, colleagues.
Thank you, Melangi. Fatima, I will go first if you don't mind. With regards to the first question that was posed by Mr. Murendeni, I would like to indicate that the HWSETA each year conducts workshops in each province, and we issue through newspapers, the HWSETA website, and already partnering organizations, the notification and dates and venue of where those workshops are taking place. And those workshops are aimed at taking through all participants those who are already participating, those who are not participating but wish to participate, on the process that they need to follow in order to come on board and what the HWCTA opportunities are. But I also want to state that it is possible that we may not be reaching everyone that may be relevant, especially in rural communities. So we as the HWCTA welcome if there are any groups that you know of who would particularly want a session conducted by the HWCTA, taking them through the process. A request can be made to the specific provincial office within which those organizations are situated in, and someone will be assigned by the HWCTA to host a session where those organizations are taken through. What I want to also highlight is that the HWCTA processes and initiatives are employer-based or they are organization-based. And this means that no individual potential learner can access funding directly from HWCTA. We work with organizations, and these organizations are then responsible for recruiting and bringing on board the learners. And this is because the intricacies that are involved in getting learning programs on the ground implemented, they require workplaces, they require formal institutions in some instances, they require administration and coordination. And therefore, this is why we then work with organizations
so we don't have the capacity
who are in these communities, get them to the process of registering with the HWCTA. Then learners come on.
So we don't have the capacity.
Over and above the workshops that we've done, the CEO has also
So we don't have the capacity.
Initiated stakeholder consultation sessions, and this involves all strategic partners, all the way from the Department of Social Development, the relevant councils, everyone that is at a strategic level to discuss what is happening within each sector and what direction the HWCTA should focus its initiatives towards. So this take place. So if from where I'm sitting, I think there is something that we are doing, but I'm not saying that this is the be it and end it all that can be done. Hence, we have opened the option of having sessions upon request by a group of organizations within a particular community where the HWCTA would gladly come out and host those organizations and go through the information. And I hope that answers you. With the second question by Umitse, where he wanted clarity on whose role is it to make sure that organizations come on board and get opportunities. Our role as the HWCTA goes as far as inviting organizations to come on board. However, it then becomes the responsibility of each of those organizations to follow the processes that the HWCTA has put forward in order to gain access to the grants that the HWCTA makes provision for. Most organizations, they fail because of adhering to requirements. So they would come on board initially, however, fail to meet requirements. But unfortunately, just like with any process that involves public funds, we have to have stringent processes in place because there are funds that will be transferred to the organization, and therefore we need to make sure that when we make those partnerships and we transfer money, it is in the hands of people who are capable and are going to be able to deliver on what has been agreed upon. It can't just be anybody, and therefore we have these processes in place, and organizations who are eager to participate will unfortunately have to go through these processes. I also want to also put it out there, so that I don't think this is a single organization's responsibility. I think the whole entire sector is responsible, and the employers in the sector, as I'm saying, they also give access to the implementation of this project. Our partnerships with the Department of Social Development, they've got capacity, they have a presence in most municipalities. So they also are key in the process. And so is the NGO sector also. They are closer to communities. They understand the issues that surround CYC and community issues much better than the HWCTA. Our role as the HW is to administer and make the initiatives possible by making funding available for those organizations who are championing and are pioneering for these initiatives. With regards to the question by Untate Mwenyane, if I got the question correctly, was on the application process. In terms of the application process, I think it will be very lengthy for me to explain it in this particular platform, but I would like to urge you, it's two things. You can email me on the details that are posted in the chat box. I've posted my email address on the chat box. I can direct you to and assign you to a person that will sit down with you and take you through the application process in detail, and who is eligible, who's not eligible. We also have provincial offices in each province, and all organizations are urged to make contact with those provincial offices. The full details in terms of contact numbers and the managers responsible for those provincial offices are on the HWCTA website, which is www.hwcta.org.za. So each provincial office is stated there, their contact details are there. They've been placed in each province to actually guide stakeholders at a more face-to-face level of interaction. Guide you, take your hand through the process, facilitate the overseeing, even the implementation of some of the projects that we have funded. So they are the most relevant that you could go to, but I can also facilitate a meeting if you are then interested in that particular process. With regards to the questions from Apostle Hobbs, I would like, as I indicated, my contact details are posted on the chat box. I will repost again so that it becomes more recent in terms of the chats that have been taking place. You are correct when you say that faith-based organizations do belong to the health and welfare sector. In terms of the SIC codes as allocated by the DHET, faith-based organizations are one of stakeholders of the HWCTA. This therefore means that your faith-based organization should undergo a process of registration with the HWCTA so that you are then able to also tap into these opportunities that I have highlighted in my presentation. So your organization in its nature is then registerable as an organization with the HWCTA. You may not have an L number, you may require a T number, and this is the process of registration that you will then be taken through so that you can be able to access funding. The other thing I want to highlight to everybody is that everything happens within a specific time period because it's linked to reporting and it's linked to the implementation timeframes of the HWCTA. For the 2022-2023 financial year, which is the period starting from the 1st of April to the 31st of March 2023, we have already distributed, we have already advertised the those who were interested have applied, and we have already distributed funding that is available within this financial year. And then new funding will then become available in the 2023-2024 financial year. We are aiming to make advertisements in the month of April and May. So I urge everybody who is interested to have a look out at our website within that time frame for any funding opportunities or windows that the HWSETA will open for the 2023-2024 opportunities. However, I suggest that if you are interested to participate in the 2023-2024 financial year, you start your registration process now, because the requirements when the funding windows open may require that your organization must be registered with HWSETA. Now you must be registered at the time of application. This therefore means if there's registration that needs to take place, it needs to be a process that you embark on now in preparation for funding opportunities in the 2023-2024 financial year. I hope I've answered all the questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mel. And I'm worried it's now 11:27, but I think the engagements are quite critical. So I'm going to allow Dr. Diwan to still give her response and allow Mr. Ngonyama and the other person whose hand was up to also have an opportunity. Koyana and Ms. Lamola, okay, those are the two hands I notice now. And I've noted there are chats also which are raising some of the questions. And I appreciate the colleagues from DSD who have joined us. I see they've put their names there, especially DSD Western Cape. And I think there is appreciation in the meeting for those colleagues who have put their hands up. Let me allow Dr. Fatima to give her responses, and then we allow the two colleagues to quickly table their comments or questions briefly, and then we close the meeting with the summary and the vote. Thanks. Over to you, Dr. Fatima.
Thank you so much, Registrar. So basically, in terms of the questions that I noted down, in no particular order, but the first one was related to students in the course, in the 4-year degree, having to do practical placement or work placement, and whether they would be registered with the council. Yes, they would have to, because as students, because currently our students are registered as student child and youth care workers to do practice. So in the new 4-year degree, we would have to put that into place as well. But the dilemma comes in because if they already social auxiliary workers and they already registered with council anyway, would they have to now register as students? So that's a very good question, and that is something that we will have to really need to consider. In terms of who is responsible for making sure that the students attend block release, well, there needs to be a letter of commitment from the employer and the student themselves that they will attend these courses. And in terms of the accommodation and things like that, the bursary, I am sure, will hopefully take care of that as well, for the transport and the accommodation. The question about what about those child and youth care workers who are informally employed, I think the registrar has answered that question. And then in terms of how do people apply and access the course, the selection criteria has been accepted by the board. So I was wondering if it's possible for maybe the chair of the board, Mr. Noyama, to actually share that if he can. Because I don't have that document with me right now in terms of who is eligible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fatima. Diwan, I'm going to allow the two colleagues whose hands were up unless their issues have been resolved with the responses. And I note their hands are now down, so I take it that they've withdrawn their need to ask any question. And the chairperson of the board, I think they can publish the criteria so that every member is aware of what are the, what is going to make them eligible to participate in this new offering at DUT. Ms. Lamola and Shazi, your hands are up. Briefly, please.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. All the honorable members that have attended from organization, my Deputy President, Mr. Ngonyama, special greetings to you, sir. My question is to HWC, to Ms. Lokwe. I appreciate the way you have presented how the opportunities for bursaries are made available to those that are interested. But I remember there was one time in the newspaper where an institution, it seems like the institution obtained bursaries, but they still made the direct beneficiaries to pay school fees. So my question was that how far is the monitoring of these bursaries as you pay them into this organization because you recognize a body or an organization? That's when you can be able to grant the bursary for learning. But my question was that once time I saw it in the newspaper that there was this, they called it bogus bursaries. So in my mind, I was like, okay, it seems as if the bursaries were paid, but the right beneficiaries were not benefiting from those funds. So my question was that how far is HWCTA going to ensure that indeed people are benefiting and it's not just the name to say the studies are funded? Thank you.
Ms. Lamale. Shazi?
Good morning.
Hi, very briefly, please.
I first like to thank I'd like to thank everyone that participated, the whole committee, HWCTA and DUT included. My question is for Ms. Dewan. She shared a timeline of dates, which included today for the opening of the applications. So I had shared in the chat, but I'm not sure if the chat questions will be answered. With regards to, since applications are open today, how is it accessible? Where do people accessible? And do they think 2 weeks for application is enough? Because the closing date says the 2nd of December, and that's in like two weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazi. Mr. Ngonyama?
Thank you very much, Registrar. And I have got a few points, and mainly the first one is to acknowledge and thank the representation by DSD. I understand that we've got 3 DDs who are present in this meeting. Thank you very much for attending the meeting. We were getting worried that we are having this kind of a meeting, which is very important and critical for the sector, with DSD not represented. So thank you. We are happy to have you. And I once again want to appreciate the various partners who have worked on this initiative, and we know that this is still to continue, and we are going to continue to request, as indicated, that the employers please support the child and youth care workers who are going to be selected for this initiative. And we do understand that it's not going to be easy, as some of the people will have been out of school for years, and then going back to studying can be challenging. So they will require the employer support, of course, their family supports as well. And there was a point that was made around the child and youth care workers not accessing information. I would like to use this platform to urge the sector that please, if you are an employer, do make sure that the child and youth care workers under your employment are registered with council, and that they regularly update their information so that they are able to receive regular communications. The communication is done almost weekly. So people who are registered and are on the database should be able to access the information every time it is made available. And as for the question around the criteria, when that is going to be provided when the call is made, I do not have the list with me, and I don't just want to try and thumbsuck them, but you are going to see that on the advert. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm going to now allow Dr. Lesiba to do the vote of thanks and just a brief highlight of the whole session, and then we close. Dr. Lesiba.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. Let me begin by thanking you for chairing this meeting. You started off by allowing us to introduce ourselves in terms of our different categories, the office staff, the attendees, the boards for both social work and child and youth care, council members, and you acknowledged the presence of other key stakeholders that are here. Thank you very much for that. Unfortunately, some organizations or individuals joined a bit late, and we couldn't acknowledge them properly, but I'm sure all should have felt welcome in this meeting. Then the chairperson of the board for Professional Board for Child and Youth Care Work, Mr. Ngonyama, also gave the background and the purpose of the meeting. And you linked it very well with the summit discussions. And although you regard it as these discussions as small steps, they are indeed big steps. But yes, for people who have been waiting for a long time, they may be regarded as small steps. You also acknowledged key stakeholders, and you cited HWCTA, DUT, UNICEF, and DBE, as well as DSD. But I'm sure there are other key stakeholders who play a critical role that we have wanted to thank. But colleagues, we appreciate all of your contributions. Then the presentation went further to Dr. Diwan from DUT, who actually shared before that, presentation was done by HWCTA, represented by Melokwe, the project manager there, and she has done a sterling job in terms of outlining the opportunities, especially funding opportunities available from CETA. So I think that colleague requires organizations to take time, go through the website, and maybe even use the contact provided there to just inquire what is it that they can access from HWCTA in order to support their child and youth care workers. And I was pleased because I saw different types of funding, including lecturer development. And I hope that other institutions such as UJ and UNISA were listening so that they can also tap into those kind of opportunities. But in one of the presentations where you indicated the closing date, Melo, where you indicated August 2021, I assume that it was just a typing error. Maybe you wanted to say 2022, but I would encourage colleagues to go to our website or get in touch with you for specific information there. But the availing of almost 6 million to the sector, I think it's really appreciated, and we saw hands from those who are present applauding your gesture. Really, we appreciate that. Colleagues, remember that the money might not look enough. The number of candidates that we are targeting might not look enough, but let us start somewhere. We are aware that the need is big out there, and therefore, let's start with a few. But what is most important is that let those who start these projects succeed so that the funders and everybody else can see the value for money, and therefore maybe consider funders to consider putting in more money into these opportunities. There was a presentation by Dr. Diwan And she really gave us an overview of what DUT will be doing in terms of the qualification. We encourage those people who qualify to get into the DUT course to really apply. And the other course, it's only for the portfolio development course, is only targeting 60 applicants, colleagues. We just need to make sure as employers and as individuals that those 60 can succeed so that the program can run further, and also for these people to articulate into the degree itself. Of course, the dates from 17th to the 2nd of December might look a bit tight. And I think one of the reasons why they are tight is because there are obligations on the part of DUT and HWCTA to commit funds through the actual applications that would have been received. And therefore, we understand that it's tight, but let's just spread the weight to ensure that we meet that target. Of course, there were different questions from different attendees. I just want to appreciate your contribution. I want to appreciate the contribution from the presenters. I want to thank the professional board also for their role in this planning this kind of sessions and participating in these sessions. And I want to thank all the organizations represented here and the individuals who participated in this project. On that note, colleagues, I thank you all, and it's not my intention to leave anybody out, but just a matter of time. I thank you. Thank you, Madam Registrar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lesiba Molepo. The chairperson's hand is up, so because of protocol, I'll allow him to still say something. I don't know what he wants to say. Tetengonyam?
No, I'm sorry. It's an old hand. Sorry.
Okay. On this note, I want to thank everybody for your time, for your participation. And indeed, we will continue to host similar webinars and more outreach programs, whether in person or online. It is a commitment that as SACSSP and the two professional boards, we are committed to. So thank you so much to everybody. Have a lovely day further. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Really appreciated. Bye for now.
Thank you,
Ms.
colleagues.
Dalton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. you.